it's really lined up. A bit of pent-up, audience there, and it was just fantastic.
Talk to us about Luke Traynor, because a lot of people in the building probably wouldn't have seen him fight before. He's got an incredible backstory, an incredible personality. I think the media have kind of fallen in love with him a little bit this week. He's been an absolute joy to deal with, and he goes in and puts in a performance like that. You've got a star in your hands.
Well, you'd think so, wouldn't you? I mean, he's a joy to deal with, and I think everyone does fall in love with him. And Yannick's a fantastic bloke as well. Both got really good backstory. So this was an epic fight, and I think it was a big step up for Luke. We've seen him fight. He's 4-0, but could he take someone like Yannick? And it just was so tense, wasn't it? I mean, two big lads, and it was just a really, really hard fought win for Luke. But he'll learn a lot from that. And as you say, I think he could go far.
You're back on English soil. You've got an event in the books. You know what's coming next. What's next? Are you coming back to the UK? How often are we going to start to see these European shows back on stream again?
Well, our plan a couple of years ago, we had some really big plans for Europe, and obviously got derailed. But this year we've come back with 3 shows in 5 weeks. We've got this one, 23rd of October in Moscow, which is really exciting, first time in Russia, and then back to Dublin for the 5th of November, which will be the usual end of year party, I think, in Dublin, I'm hoping. And so that will see us through 21. But looking at 22. Everyone wishes they had a crystal ball at the moment, but I think something like tonight's proven that Bellator works in Europe, certainly works in London, and I'm hoping for many more nights on this side of the Atlantic.
Perfect. Question from me, WHOATV David Cameron. This felt like a night for Britain. It felt like almost like a post. I know we're not out the back of COVID yet, but it felt like a bit of a post-COVID celebration. The music was banging. MVP ultimately gets it done at the end. Talk about the pride that you have for Bellator putting on an event like this in Britain, but like showcasing British fighters.
Yeah, I mean, I've got an immense amount of pride for it. I think it was, you roll the dice with these things when you announce them, and certainly in this atmosphere of what's going on. But I think, we felt like we had the right ingredients, and I think that people were ready for a big night out. And you had that sort of optimism, didn't it? It had that sort of roaring 20s, let's get out and have some fun, finally. And the one thing you can't control is the fights and the atmosphere around the fights. And I think that was the bit you sort of cross your fingers and toes and think, hope it works, I hope it works. But you could just tell, even 7:30, this night was going to be special. My adrenaline was flying all through the night. It was an absolutely wonderful night.
Snapping.
Do you regret that you didn't just call the main event as a 5-round fight at the beginning, or just change policy for this event?
Well, I didn't regret it because it was never on the cards, and I think that's, maybe something we can look at in the future. But, it was never on the cards, so I think in hindsight you could look at it and say, would it have been interesting to see another couple of rounds? I know I would like to, but I think, that's the beauty of hindsight. It could have gone in 2, could have gone in 1, so, you don't know. But, it looked like it was a classic matchup, and I would have seen another 10 rounds of that.
Well, Page said in here straight afterwards the next fight he wants is Douglas Lima over 5 rounds.
Yeah, and he didn't look like he'd been punching the head too much, so he was fine.
Exactly.
Obviously, Michael's very honourable. I think the first thing you got to say is those two guys have, been great ambassadors for the sport all week. They've been, working hard, promoting the fight. They've been just great sportsmen, really great gents, the pair of them. Douglas, fantastic sportsman, and I think, of course they'd like to fight again. We'd all pay to see that. I certainly would.
There's a lot of fighters who are on this card this weekend who were really desperate to get back in there and compete. It's a payday for them. They've had a lot of frustration with COVID and everything. Just wondered if I could get your opinion on Charlie Leary, who was due to fight tonight. He said he'd battling depression during his time away, and I think a lot of people could probably sympathise with that. Loses his fight due to one of his cornermen, I think, during the week, testing positive. He wants to get back in there as quickly as possible. How quickly would you be able to pivot and maybe add him to like the Dublin card or something like that?
Look, I mean, my heart breaks for Charlie. He threw it all out there in that fight in Milan last year. Great win for him, and he was over the moon. I spoke to him after the fight. He was buzzing from that, and like everyone else, he's had a really tough year. And he just, when you asked who was going to be on this one, to hear it was him was just heartbreaking. And I'd love to get him back out there because he deserves it for sure.
I know you already answered a question on Luke Traynor, but I'm going to bring it back to he has impressed us massively over the last couple of days. You can't even make a fighter more marketable than him. Like, what is the plan for him? Do you just throw the checkbook at him and get him into a long-term deal?
Well, look, I think like anything, you know, we've got some great people behind the scenes here working on matchups and what we can do with someone. And I think, you know, I think you almost couldn't have that decision till now with Luke. I mean, you know, like you say, he's got all the ingredients, but, you know, had he fought anyone of any repute, and Yannick was, you know, it was a tough matchup, and Yannick put his heart and soul into that fight tonight. So to see Luke come through it the way he did was, then you start to think, well, what can we do with this guy, you know? And like you say, I'd love to think we've got a start on our hands, and you know, the signs are good.
Is he the kind of guy that you'd want to keep over here for these kind of cards? Or because I know he's very keen to obviously go out to the States. Is he someone that you're keen to keep on, you know, the Euro cards?
Well, I get very selfish about my fighters, and I want to keep everyone over here. You know, I'm always texting Scott Coker, like, keep them over here, because you know, as you've seen tonight, it works. But you know, the other good thing about Bellator and Bellator Europe over here is that, you know, the guys are fighting and getting recognised. Luke was on Showtime tonight in the US in that fight, you know, so they've got a platform to go out and fight the best in the world, and I think that's what we're trying to create here. So, you know, I'll have a little wrestle with the guys in the US, but, you know, I'd be happy to see him go over there and do his stuff as well, as long as we can get him back.
The European series, or the European events, if you like, largely built to help build the stars on this side of the pond. Has there ever been any serious discussion about instituting European titles, which would then give additional gravitas to your events, would help build specifically European fighters, which could then, when they transition across to America, do so with a belt over their shoulder and added kudos as they do so?
Look, we've talked about that. I'm personally not a fan. I just think, for me, I think the great thing what Scott Coker's happy to do, which I don't think, you know, which you've got to give him a lot of credit for, is bringing big names over to the US and fighting them in our time zone, you know. And you've seen that time and time again since we started this whole thing in the last few years. Seeing someone like Doug Lima fight in London, I think that was a big thing. I think MVP, you know, a lot of people came to see MVP tonight, but MVP's fought here before. I think everyone really want to see MVP fight Doug Lima, and that's half the charm of what we can do here. So for me, the European belts has a feeling as second tier to me, which I don't think would be fair on the way the guys are fighting. So, you know, everything's open, but for now I think it's all about a level playing field and bringing the best in the world over here to fight.
All right, thank you, David.
Brilliant.
Thanks very much. I hope you enjoyed it, guys.
Appreciate it.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very good. Very good. All